Hello and welcome back to my channel. Today, back on topic, no more rants, no more coffee making, it's back onto radio. Now, I've got here in front of me a pile of radios, radio accessories, bit of a head torch, battery for portable phone, aerials, carriage straps and bits and bobs. The reason I'm doing this video today is to have a look at what I've got spare, what I can afford to keep in my car as spare and not really miss it for my day-to-day use and miss around the home. What's happened is the other week we went camping, a few of us went camping and did some hill walking. We've been around Shropshire, been around Wales, and we'd had a bit of a split between the groups where some of us went up in the car to do some radio work, some others wanted to do a bit of walking, so it was agreed that we'd have a certain point, a rendezvous point, where we'd be able to meet up and drive off and move on to our way. The only problem was we didn't stick to the timescale properly. We had a problem locating each other and phones just weren't working at all. Completely dead, both for the people climbing the hill. I call it a hill, it might be a mountain, it's huge. And also for in the portable, in the car, no phone coverage at all. Fortunately, before they set off, we had one spare radio. Wasn't equipped properly, it was just a very basic radio like the Bofeng UV5R, stock antenna, simple as it is, and which luckily one of the members of the party knew how to operate, knew what frequencies that we were using, and after several attempts, because you know, climbing up hills and stuff with a radio like this and an antenna like this isn't going to be brilliant anyway, but we managed to get contact, and it wasn't a lifesaver, it wasn't quite drastic as that, there was no life in danger or there's no risk involved at all, but it just certainly saved an awful lot of time and confusion and people getting lost. And it made me think that, you know, I've got all these spare bits and bobs here, and it'd be useful to have a carry case, a little bag like this old bag of mine, an old tech bag, where I can keep in the car with basic communications, whether it's for two handhelds for two parties, or being able to communicate again with the car. So I'm a big fan of these Bofeng UV5R radios. This is the UV5R Plus. Now you can get these for about £25 each delivered. They're very cheap radios. They do work quite well. I've had very good reports when I've been doing some radio work on the amateur bands. And I pick up well and seem to transmit well. So, you know, I've actually got quite a few of these now. The UV5R Plus is not the latest one, but it's one of the newer ones. And that's evidenced by the screen. You can see it's got a bit of a metally faceplate on there. Can't tell much difference between this and the older Bofeng, the UV5R. They reckon that the firmware is obviously more up to date, and I have been programming these using the Chirp software, and clearly, you know, there are differences. So there's definitely a difference. Receive-wise, yeah, potentially a little bit better, but not an awful lot in it. So I bought a few of these. One or two of the chargers are broken, so I haven't got complete kit. So I've ended up with some good stuff that I use, which I've got filed away in my shack. And these are kind of spares that I thought, let's do something with these. Let's at least have them in a place where you might want to use them. So the point of this is, let's get a few things together. Now, I'm all for having spare phones, spare batteries, spare chargers, even solar systems to charge things up. And I think the more ways you've got to communicate, then the better. You can't always rely on cell phones, as we found out on the day. And when you have big public disasters, you know, like in cities where the terrorists attacked, one of the first things that happen is the cell sites go down for security reasons. So to be able to communicate is very important. So if you haven't got a phone, what have you got? Well, I'm not suggesting for one moment that we all start carrying radios with us. However, if you've got access to a radio and you know people who are going to be using a radio and you know there's people you can contact on the radio in a situation, then that's not a bad thing, is it? So, you know, I'm all for it. Now, the next stage for me personally is to be trying out DMR, which is the digital mobile radio. One of the channels that I follow is Lewis, Ringway Manchester. It's a really good channel, and he does some good reviews on handheld digital radios. And I've seen a few of his videos, and I'm definitely going to be getting myself a DMR very, very soon. I don't think I should be doing a review on them, but I shall certainly be doing a video or two with me using them and trying them out. But if you go onto his channel, and I'll put a link down below, please do click it and have a look at the DMRs, because he explains them really well, and he does show the differences between the different types. Well worth a look. So that's again another form of radio that we can use in a situation where, you know, it might be needed. So what I wanted to do is to have a kit for the car. So this is the bag I'm going to be using. Now this is one of my older Bofeng radios. The original battery is broken, stopped working, and I've managed to get hold of an extra life antenna, which is this one here, and this is obviously quite a bit bigger than clearly what's on that radio. But with that, with the size comes the extra life, so that's not a bad thing, but not so much pocket sized now. The stock antenna, I believe I've probably lost it for this as well, or I've had to use this on a different radio where one broke. So I do have this Nagoya NA771, so it's bigger than the stock. It's a higher gain, not much, it's still fairly low, but it's a higher gain. So for situations where you're out in wooded areas or out in forests or mountain hills, potentially it's better. And with that battery being bigger, carrying more power, potentially better as well. So I certainly think this is one of the radios that is going to be going spare in my bag to use. So that's that one there. Now, because I've got spare radios, if we want to have two parties splitting up, let's have a spare radio for the second party as well. Okay, the other radios I have only stock antennas, although I'm sure somewhere I've got one of the larger ones, but this is only a bag for spares, so let's stick to what I've got. So yeah, that's a good radio to use. That's already programmed as well, so we'll put that in the list as well. Now, what I want to be able to do is to charge these up. Now, the chargers that come with all of these Bofeng radios are the drop-in chargers like so. These are good chargers, I like them a lot, they're fairly sturdy, they hold the radio nicely. You charge them by plugging them into the mains using a mains adapter. The only issue is that these will give out 10 volts, and these chargers require 10 volts, not 12. A lot of the radios that are used are 12 volts. They're very simple to charge from your car. You just get a straight lead from your cigar lighter socket or any 12 volt outlet, plug them straight in. One of my chargers is broken as a result of doing that, because after a while it just melts the circuitry down inside. So I wouldn't recommend it. So to charge this, brilliant, yeah, we can use that for the house. In fact, I've got two. So there's two there, and I've got a second charger there. So we've got two chargers, great. Now the other issue is, supposing we're mobile, what are we going to do then to charge them? Well, can't use the 12 volts, but what you can do is to get an adapter, a little power adapter like this, that will convert it down to either, what have we got? We've got 4.5, 5, 6, 9, 12 and 3 volts. It doesn't give you 10, however it does give you 9. I've tried this out using 9 volts to charge these radios, and it charges absolutely fine. So I figured that I'd rather charge these with a 9 volt that's not going to do any damage at all, rather than using a 12 volt system. So if we need to be using these in the car for great periods of time, for car to car, because my car's got built-in radios into the dash anyway, permanently wired in. So if there's another vehicle that I want to give transport or communications to rather, I can give them a handheld and this to keep it charged up. If we're away for a length of time, we can charge it from the mains. So I reckon that that is quite a good system there. That one, spare UV5R, I don't need to put that into the kit. I can continue using that elsewhere. This newer one, the UV5R Plus, that I can probably keep in the home, or we can start doing a bag for the second car that we've got. So potentially that can wait there. Thing I've just noticed, in fact, I've got a spare clip here. This radio, it's got the 2 screws on the back for this clip just to fasten onto. I don't really use the clips very much. I prefer to stick these into my pocket or hold them in my hand. I don't know whether I trust clips to keep these secure, fastened onto your belt or your bag. But it's spare, so what the heck, keep it in the kit. If I want to be able to put it on at some point, I can do so. It's better to have and not need than to need and not to have. That's what I say. So, lapel microphones. This is a Bofeng one. I think I paid about £3 for this off eBay. It's not brilliant, but you know what? It works well enough what I've ever used them for. So this is a spare one because I have quite a lot of these. So that can go in there as well. Another one, again, this isn't a Bofeng. This is a cheaper version of a Yaesu. It did have a name to it. I can't remember what it was. But again, it's a spare one. So that can go into there as well. So that's all sorted. Now, also lying around spare, I've got this little fuel bar. Now, these come in all different shapes and sizes. This is for charging up mobile devices, such as telephones. It's got a torch. I don't want to dazzle the camera, but it's got a torch one end. And then the other end, you've got a USB output, and you've got a little charger input there. That one is only 2,000 milliamp hours. So, yeah, it'll charge up a cell phone enough to be able to allow me to use it in an emergency. For what it's worth, stick that in because it's redundant anywhere else around the house and my other kit bags. So, sure, that can go in there as well. Same idea. This one is a bit of a flatter, thinner one. Undo the zip, and you've got a plug there that plugs straight into your computer to charge up, or your outlet to charge the battery. And then on the other end, it's got a little micro USB. Great if you've got a Samsung phone, but I don't. Again, I use iPhones. So I don't use it for anything else, but that might be useful for someone else in our party who may have a phone that needs charging. It's redundant anyway, so that can go in the kit. To go with this one, incidentally, I've got this little multi-plug here. It's a USB one side. The other side, it's got the iPhone 6 type charger plug. Again, it's got a little micro or mini USB, and then the old iPhone. This is redundant as well, but you know what? That might be really useful to have in the vehicle one day. You just never know, do you? It's not going to cost me anything to carry around with me, so that can also go into the kit. Something that I do also carry is this Duracell head torch. It's only a cheapish one, but it's fairly good. Redundant. Again, it's a duplicate of what I've already got in the house and in the car. But you know what? It might be really useful to have in this bag. So I think I'm going to put all these in here. This bag, it's going to be left in the car. If my car got broken into and this got stolen, it wouldn't be the end of the world for me. Like I say, this is all kind of redundant stuff that I don't really tend to use now because the main stuff's away in the shack. But it's better to have with me than to not, because like we found out on that day hill walking, you just never know when you might want to grab a radio and just use it. Not talking about emergencies necessarily, you can't rely on them for emergencies, but just for a bit of a communication, a bit of a tool to help you through your day. So why not just keep them with you? So if I keep them all in this bag, I know that if we go away camping, if we go away anywhere at all, this will always be with us. And if we need them, we've got them. And the great thing is also, this is all compatible with the radio stuff that I've got in the car as well. So this can be used for many different purposes. So that's great. I'm happy with that. Even got a little wrist strap. Don't really use the wrist straps, but I'll stick it in anyway because you just never know. And there we go. So we've got a nice good sized bag there that will just fit under the seat, in the boot, out of the way, ready for when and if it's needed. There you go. Like I say, it's not exhaustive. You could add on, you can take away. As soon as you upgrade one thing, you can then sort of downgrade the item to be part of this kit. It's just an idea. So if you've got any ideas, any suggestions, any comments, let me know in the comments box below. Hope this has been a little bit of interest to you, and look forward to giving my next video very soon. Maybe it'll be on a DMR radio if I can get myself one sorted. But like I say, check out Lewis' channel, address down below, Ringway Manchester. Check into his channel, have a look, see what he does, and I'll see you very soon. Thanks for watching.